Well, hello and welcome back. Once again, if you are familiar, you will know. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Kara, and that's not going to go well. My name is Kara, and this is a YouTube channel where I'm documenting a year-long low-buy project that is to help me to keep a tight budget, which is to help me pay off my student loans as fast as I can. I try to use Ugh, my goal is so off the charts unrealistic. My goal at the start of the year was to use 75% of my net income towards paying off debt. And most months I'm in the high 60s. So it's a big goal. It's ambitious. It pushes me, which is good. But as the year is coming to an end, I've definitely seen a pattern that it's a little unrealistic. That's not entirely what this week's video is about, though. A couple of things. I wanted to talk about social media, and then I also have some updates on my pig. For those of you who followed for a while, I eat a carnivore diet, so I eat absolutely nothing from the plant kingdom. I only eat animal products, and I've been doing that for close to a third year. I don't know. I started in July of 2018 and now it's November of 2020. So it's 2 years plus August, September, October. So anyway, it's been a while and I really love it. I have a few videos about it back in the spring of this year. But for the last month or so, I've been waiting for a half pig that I purchased from a local farmer to be ready. And it was supposed to be ready in October, and there was a little bit of a mix-up between the farmer and the meat processor. And anyway, this weekend, I finally got my pig, and I took the half pig to my parents' house where we hung it in the garage. And today, my dad and I finally started butchering it. And that had been my plan all along, to save a little bit of money. So in this way, I paid a deposit for the half pig, and I paid the farmer a finishing cost, which covers what she used for feeding it and whatever else. And then a tiny fee for the butcher, which is awesome. But I didn't have to pay the meat processor to butcher it and package it and do everything else. Like, my dad and I are doing that ourselves. So anyway, I finally got that going and I have a little bit of footage to share. So there's a few, they're fairly choppy, but I wanted you to see a little bit about what that is like and that it's finally happening. So here are a couple of quick glimpses at my parents' house, in their garage, and just at the dining room table at their house, as we got the pig started butchering. Enjoy. So this is just some impromptu footage so that you could see a little bit of what this is like. I finally got my pig and I brought it to my parents' house. It's hanging in their garage right now. It's behind me. It's about 33, 34 degrees. It's not freezing, but the pig could hang here for a while. I think my dad and I are going to start butchering today, but I wanted to give you a chance to see what it was like. So it's hanging in the garage, and there's the back leg, and you can see that it's cut in half, and I'm not the greatest at filming with my laptop. So it weighs about 90 pounds. Some people don't want to look at that, so I'll turn away. It weighs about 90 pounds, and I will probably get 40 to 45, hopefully more, pounds of meat from that. But a lot of it is, of course, bone, and I'm just looking up at it. I got a job ahead of me today. So I will, hopefully by the end of the day, have a nice pile of wrapped up meat cuts, and I'll show you that as well, and I will try to weigh it. My parents have a scale. I'll try to weigh it and tell you exactly how much meat I got from this. My mom is very interested to have the bones for soup. So we're not going to waste it, even though it might not be pounds of meat exactly. But my mom is really excited to have the bones for soup because every week she makes soup for a local soup kitchen that helps people, which is really important. And I'm glad she's going to use it for that because that's really healthy, nutritious soup stock coming right up. One more little look at the guy. And yeah, we're definitely like Idahoing this. Like we installed that just in time to put the pig up on it. This is Idaho. And so we've got a couple of things wrapped up, and we're going to continue wrapping. Things have been going very smoothly, and down there, I wonder if the focus will get it. I labeled that one Christmas because it's enormous, and I would really love to share that with my whole family at Christmas. It's a shoulder roast, it's got the bone in, and it's huge. All right, so that was just a little glimpse of getting started butchering that pig today. And I think when I was in the garage, I talked about hoping to get 40, maybe 50 pounds of meat. And I want to make sure to update you that I got close to 40 pounds just today, and we still have half of it hanging. So off of a quarter of a pig, we got close to 40 pounds. When we get done with the half, we'll probably have a great deal. Like I'm kind of surprised. And maybe, I mean, when that guy I picked it up from said, yeah, it's 90 pounds. And I mean, I carried it myself briefly and I struggled. Like, I think he's correct that it was around 90 pounds. But we're getting a lot more meat off of it than I had expected, and that's good. I'm not complaining. But even just doing the front, the shoulder, the neck, the ribs, the chops, we stopped when we were getting close to the loin. So we did like a quarter of a pig, and when I packaged up that huge roast that I labeled Christmas, and that roast was around 14 pounds, just that. Then I had at least 10 rib steaks, the chops, big St. Louis style rib, lots of pork belly. What else did we get today? I can't remember. Oh, a couple of other roasts from the shoulder and the shank, the front. So just there was a lot of meat there actually, and a lot of food. And man, at the end of the evening, my dad and I decided we're just gonna stop there. They've got a lot of stuff to do this week. We'll go back maybe tomorrow morning, maybe Thursday or so. Anyway, like the meat is gonna be fine because it can hang in the garage. It's cold out. But we'll just kind of wait and see how our schedules work out to finish it this week, and it'll be fine. But there was a lot more meat than I had initially thought, and that's really great. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to have that big roast. Might end up at Thanksgiving. We might not be able to wait very long. We might have that roast for Thanksgiving, but we'll definitely have a very Merry Christmas or some very merry family holiday sometime this year with that. So this video, I want to take some time to talk about social media, and my project for November is to assess my social media use and decide if I'm going to change any of the social media that I use, if I'm going to leave any of them, if I'm going to add any of them. And this is something that I've been interested in for a long time, and I know that there's sort of an ebb and a flow to general society, really serious critique or joyful news is much rarer, but critiques of social media pop up from time to time. And I remember it was a little over a year ago, maybe, that Jean Twenge's article about teens and their social media use and the correlation between social media and smartphone usage and teen anxiety, depression, and suicide rates. Pretty hard to disentangle that. I have worked with youth at various points in my life, both pre and post smartphone eras. Pre-smartphone in let's see, it would have been the summers of 2000, 2001, 2003 and 2004, I was working at a summer camp in Montana, and kids had cell phones, but texting wasn't even really a thing. And so they weren't like glued to their phones for contact with each other. Um, and no smartphones, not even for the adults. Like smartphones weren't a thing yet. And so I definitely have seen young people and some of the challenges that they have, and they're very real, pre smartphone and pre social media. And then a couple of years ago, I had a 1 year contract to be a librarian at a middle school. And I mean, that was 2017 and 18. And so, most definitely, most of the students had a phone. Most of those phones were smartphones. Most of the students, even in middle school, most of the students had some kind of social media account. Uh, and young people in that decade plus gap in time, the challenges that they face haven't really changed as far as they're growing up, they're going through puberty, they are struggling socially to figure out who they are, and then the smartphones made a difference. I can just say that the smartphones and the constant monitoring and knowing that somebody will notice, whether they notice it in a positive way or a negative way, whether the response you get is positive or negative, and how widespread that response becomes, it definitely made a difference in how those youth were experiencing themselves and their lives and all of the challenges that they would already normally have to face with growing up. It has made a difference. And so I can't remember everything that Jean Twenge claimed in her article, and I'm not even sure if I can find it to put a link, but it was a pretty well referenced, commonly cited article. These kind of things have made a big difference in our society, and I'm really glad that I grew up before social media. And I worry, I really do worry for those who grow up without that frame of reference, without knowing what it was like before. Without knowing what it was like before social media, it must be so hard. It must be so hard that the entire world is entirely caught up in social media, and you're basically trying to grow up with no privacy. You're trying to figure out who you are, you're trying to figure out how to behave, and God help you if you make a mistake, with a permanent record, and it's in front of everyone all the time. Holy crap. I mean, that's too much. That's too much to put on even adults. That's too much to put on, and it's far too much to put on young people. So I do worry about what this does for people who are growing up in it and have no frame of reference, no historical awareness at all. That's got to be insane. And I salute parents and counselors and anybody trying to help young people at this point. One of the things that I did get to do with those middle schoolers that was really cool was to talk to them as often as possible about social media and about how strange it is, and what a weird frame of reference it starts to create in human relationships. And we did things like looking at the very popular media bias chart, and we watched a few different TED Talks about social media and about the great experiment that it is on us as a society. So I was trying as best I could, without having a lot of time or much professional background as an educator, but trying to help build some kind of frame of reference for them as they went through middle school with smartphones and head into high school and beyond with this culture that they swim in. And one of the TED Talks that I showed them, and I did this, I think, with every grade. I don't think I skipped it with any of them. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, we watched in library classes, we watched Tristan Harris's TED Talk about time well spent. and about how social media is engineered to be addictive. It definitely it hits the dopamine, and we love it. So it was really cool to show that to young people and talk to them about it. And because of that, Tristan Harris has been on my radar as a person who has a lot to say about social media and to help us understand what it does to us and why it's so hard to pull away from it and keep a balanced frame of reference. So anyway, he's always been on my mind since then, and I appreciate what he has to tell us. And then very recently, I listened to he was on the Joe Rogan podcast and spoke for hours with Joe about more of this, more of how social media has been engineered, how it's made to be addictive because that's the business model that they need. And I guess I haven't seen this, which is kind of funny since I'm so interested in it, but I haven't seen the documentary The Social Dilemma. And obviously, I think Tristan Harris is a creator for that, or a lot of his work is involved in it. But since I'm not paying for any subscriptions, I haven't been able to stream it and watch it. But it definitely sounds like the kind of thing that I would enjoy and be interested in. And he and Joe talked about it extensively. So if you have seen that, good. And if you could share it with people, great. So yeah, I'm just very interested in these kinds of things. And so these have all been kind of stewing for me for a while, plus the election season and just how complicated and touchy and you could just say like unpleasant and unpleasant social media got and continues to be because of how politically polarized we are. And in some ways, social media may have even been the cause of some of that polarization and creating the extremes that we feel like we are drawn towards. So I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I don't know anybody who does not, from time to time, talk about getting off of social media and just wanting to quit it all. And I have a lot of friends, and I know of certain media figures who take intentional breaks from social media, and they all say that it's like the best month of their year, or it's the best week of their year, and they're so glad that they do that and that it's really important to unplug. And I get that, and I've tried taking breaks myself from time to time. So this month I wanted to really evaluate what social media I do use and some alternatives that I've heard about, and if I want to try those. Currently, I obviously use YouTube. Not extensively. I mean, I watch it quite a lot, and I share this channel that is about keeping my budget, and there's sort of monthly themes, and yet, I mean, I've got like all of 60 subscribers. Thank you, by the way. But it's not a big channel. It's also not really a big part of my life. I really don't know if I will continue it after this year is over. I've been kind of thinking, what should I do after 2020? Do I want to have a YouTube channel every week for who knows how long? So anyway, so I use YouTube. I watch a few different like tiny house and interior design channels. I watch some podcasts on this platform, but I also listen to them via Apple Podcasts on my phone, and it just kind of depends on what I'm up to. If I'm sitting at home, it's easier usually to open up YouTube, but if I'm out taking a walk, I listen to it on the podcast app. So anyway, YouTube, definitely a social media that I use. And the other one is Facebook. And I have had a Facebook account now. It astounds me, but it has been more than a decade. I think I recently saw that they put up like a 13-year, oh my gosh, 13 years, I think, of Facebook. I started it when I was in grad school, and then, yeah, sounds about right. And that's, of course, the one, since I've used it the longest, and I have used it very extensively, and definitely more at various times, let's say. I have found that I do not like having the Facebook app on my phone. I took it off more than a year ago, and I've never been tempted to put the Facebook app back on my phone. And that was because it was way too easy to scroll and to just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And I was using way too much time. I wasn't using time, I was losing so much time just scrolling and never really enjoying it. And I took it off my phone, never put it back on, and I did notice that I felt better. I noticed I felt better. I felt calmer. I was not quite as preoccupied. I was not quite as preoccupied thinking about what I might post or what I could say about something. I was less preoccupied with those thoughts when it was not on my phone. So I've enjoyed keeping it that way, and now I use Facebook most days of the week. Let's be honest. I log in probably around half an hour to 45 minutes every day. It's usually in the morning. It happens a lot while I'm drinking my coffee. I'll check Facebook. But I'd like it to be less. And so I think about, how do I use Facebook and what would I want to use it for? And the good things that I'm getting out of Facebook are, it's a place where I'm connected to a lot of family members that I don't have much other contact with. I have a very big family scattered across the country, and I would never know what's happening to my cousin's children otherwise. But it's nice to have some sense of what's going on with the family in Florida and what's going on with the family in South Carolina, what's going on with those cousins out in California and Oregon. So that's good. And then, yeah, in like the Midwest, there's a bunch in Illinois and Ohio. So it's nice to keep track of family. It's made easy, and so it's hard to pull away from it, because to quit using Facebook but try to keep those connections with family means using something that calls for more effort. Like, let's be very clear. It would call for more effort to not use Facebook. So it has that going for it. It's easy, and I'm connected with all of that family right now already. The other thing I like about it is seeing friends from all different eras of my life and their children and what's going on with them. Of course, also because you're connected to people from all different eras of your life and all different places that you've been, some of those relationships are sort of an unnatural continuation, where you would normally lose contact with that person. You would normally not know anything about them. You would normally not see photos of their dinner and their thoughts about the vice president pick. You would just normally not have any idea about them. Facebook does not let you let go. And sometimes it might be nice to let go. And I have used some of their features, like snoozing people for 30 days at a time. Often I snooze a friend, and if I find that I always want to snooze them, then I have unfollowed friends. I don't unfriend anymore because I have like had somebody refriend me, and it creates sort of awkward drama, like, why did you cut me off? It happens. So I've enjoyed using the feature where you can just unfollow somebody and not see them. It's weird to admit that. But it's a realistic thing to do when somebody lives many states away and you don't have any common interests anymore, and their posts are not valuable to me. The way they speak, the things they choose to speak about, I just don't have time or need to see all of that every time I log in. So I have definitely used the snoozing people feature. I've used the unfollowing feature. And yet, even with all of that control, even with all of that control, I find Facebook very unsatisfying. Um, so I'm happy to have discovered a couple of alternatives lately that I want to learn a little more about before I really say very much. And I definitely want to learn that before I might join them. But I have been excited to learn of some alternatives. One, which would be a really cool place to move my blogging, because I have a defunct blog that I haven't updated mostly since doing YouTube. Um, and if I were to, in the coming year, do less YouTube, I would do more blogging, and I would find that really exciting. So I might look at this other platform as a place to move my blog posts, and keep focusing on them there, and maybe see if I could pick writing back up again a little more disciplinedly. uh, so I don't want to say that I'm like leaving Facebook and going to these places just yet. And I may never leave Facebook, but significantly reduce once again how much I'm using it, and see what these other platforms are like. But anyway, this is what's going on in my head this beginning of November. And yeah, we kind of have a president. We kind of have a president elect. Um, And what else is happening? At my work, everything is going just fine. We're getting ready for Christmas, the holidays. Lots of folks are still um, cooking at home instead of going out anywhere, which is wise. And so the grocery industry continues to have much higher than usual sales. And that's nice. It's job security. It's really hard to keep up with. I have been learning a new role at my store, to do more of the future planning and promotions, months in advance kind of planning. So it's exciting to be moving more towards a long range view instead of this day to day sort of just keeping things operating way that I have functioned there. I still have to make sure everything keeps functioning, but I'm getting a new chunk of responsibilities shown to me that I will be able to be picking up over time. And I think there will be some possibilities for growth and a salary or something like that in the future. Anyway, life just keeps plugging along, and that's what's on my mind. I hope you're well, and I will talk to you in a week and hopefully have more actual information about those new social media networks to share, and maybe I'll have even decided that I'm going to try one of them. So we'll see. I hope you're well. Talk to you later.